welcome to Rembrandt. Today we have Lasan Digital Illustrations. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, man?
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm actually a graphic designer, but when I graduated from school, I found that I was really good at illustration. But for the most part, during my day job, I do graphic design.
Graphic design. Mm-hmm. What kind of projects have you worked on that's kind of helped build your skill sets?
For the most part, I would say illustration is something that I was doing on the side for fun, and it was never necessarily my bread and butter, but through just curiosity and practice is something that I've built up through those YouTube videos. One of my biggest inspirations, I discovered him when I was in school. He's a digital illustrator by the name of Spratt. And so I would literally just look at his Tumblr, his Instagram feed, see ideas, and try to emulate that same style. And his influences were Rembrandt, Caravaggio, Michelangelo, and people like that. But of course, they use pigment. He was using pixels.
I see. So what kind of tools do you use to kind of create your projects?
For the most part, I try to stick with dry mediums. In the beginning stages, when I'm trying to work through an idea, I'll start with a really crappy thumbnail sketch, pencil, that sort of thing. But as I'm able to think more through the idea, I'll go into the digital. And the tools that they have are something called a Wacom tablet. Okay. I have an older model. I haven't really upgraded, but it still gets the job done. And we use that as an interface with a computer. And the software is Photoshop. That's it. So a Wacom tablet, Photoshop, a stylus, and it matches the same movements as a pen, pencil. So it feels really natural.
It feels really natural. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's take a step backwards. What got you started in kind of creating art and developing art, trying to be an artist?
It's something that I've always been interested in. I've always had a creative background. I would say going into college, I gave the typical answer that you would expect from, I'm Nigerian, by the way. And so it was doctor.
The typical, cultural things that they would say, doctor, lawyer, engineer, something like that.
And my thing was doctor. And so I really thought I wanted to be a doctor. When I applied, a lot of the colleges, I said I was going to be doing their pre-med program. But by the time I was a senior, I really figured out am I ready to give eight more years of my life to this? And then the answer was no. So I really didn't choose my major until about my junior year of college. And by the time I got to my junior year, I found that I had taken a bunch of art classes. And I was also interested in filmmaking, so I was also taking mass communication classes. And so by the time I declared my major, I had enough to fulfill both of those majors. So I was a dual major in college. And so I've just always been interested in creativity. It's not really just illustration. Right. It's also filmmaking, so music. So I'm interested in it all. So.
You just have different skill sets everywhere.
Yeah.
So how was that path? How did that lead you to where you're at today, right now in your career field and the kind of freelance work that you do?
I think it's been really helpful because a lot of creatively, you'll see that some people are only able to do one thing, and let's say things aren't going well in that. Let's say there's been a hiring freeze in the illustration world. In illustration, it's hard to get into to begin with. So being able to segue from illustration to graphic design to filmmaking, all these things are needed in one way or the other to tell a story or to create awareness about a product, something that's going on, promotions. Even in the club, you see those flyers. It's graphic design. I think I'm lucky in the sense that I'm recession proof and I have multiple skill sets. So
interesting. So being recession-proof, in this day and age where it's hard to find, any kind of work, what has been one of your best works that has kind of like put you in a position that allowed you to do more freelancing work or allowed you to secure a job?
I would say the thing that's most important is just being very flexible. Like when you see that something isn't going well or you're applying to jobs, I think a lot of people they get stuck in what they envision their life being like after attaining a certain goal. Let's say you get a job, they get stuck in the fact that maybe this job isn't ideal. So I like to be flexible. I like to think, even if I'm assigned a role, I never see myself confined by that. Mm-hmm. So I'm always looking for ways to improve what's already exists,
right.
and taking full advantage of the world that we live in. So that would include social media is a lot bigger than people give it credit for.
Okay.
And some people are just using it all sorts of wrong. So during, when I first graduated, I was unemployed or underemployed for close to a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But during that time, I was also working on my own stuff. Mm-hmm. I was doing illustration. I'd worked the shift that I had. I was at Family Dollar for some time. Okay. I'd work that shift, and then I'd get home, do an illustration, promote it on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all this other stuff. And I was getting shows. I was getting commissions from friends and family. And so even though I wasn't employed, I was still doing work. And a lot of people just stop and focus full time on the whatever.
And they forget their passion and everything else.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of segued out of that.
Recession proof. I love it. I love it. So what kind of new projects are you working on now? I recently got a new job. So okay. To be honest, that's taking up a lot of my time, but it's in the best way possible. I work as a multimedia coordinator for the mayor's office, and so a lot of the projects, just really getting her message out there and bringing awareness to all the things that she's doing for the city that's pretty much my. So what is the impact that happens from the work that you're providing towards the city?
Well, it just because a lot of times, sometimes people aren't aware of what's actually going on in the city. Mm-hmm. And so this kind of takes care of that problem, because a lot of people will say, well, there's not this X, Y, or Z, and what this does is it helps us bring awareness to what actually exists and what's even on its way, like what's being developed. So it creates a relationship of transparency and trust between the public and the governing offices.
I see. So what are people saying about, what is the feedback that people are saying about the quality of work that you're doing for the mayor's office, or the quality of work that you're doing for the work that you've provided?
I don't get to, I get feedback from my immediate, right. coworkers and the administration itself, but I haven't been able to talk to the general public. But I think what's cool is hearing people talk about the work. Like some people will remark, they're like, man, I'm really liking the visuals and stuff, and I'm like, wow. They won't know that it's actually my stuff that's being shown, whether it's something that's on display, a poster, or a graphic that goes out on social media. I deal with a lot of that stuff, so it's really cool to see it, and it's a subtle thing, but it's important.
Of course. Interesting. What kind of skills do you have now that are truly unique to the market that you serve?
I would just have to say my flexibility. I guess one thing is that not all graphic designers can draw. I can draw. I feel what's unique about me is anything that I think of, whether it's a TV show, whether it's cutting up some music, I have a base level of understanding of just about anything that's necessary to create.
So if I wanted to get into architecture, I already have like the basic skill sets, like that's outside of math, but I still think that's something that I can even acquire. So it's just I'm very flexible.
So how do you balance the kind of work that you do at your job and freelance work and still trying to maintain that passion for what you do? Because I know a lot of people go through life and they're like, this is my passion, but they don't have time to actually incorporate that. How do you find the time?
I think for me, I don't think it's really necessary to balance it. Like, I'm in the very unique position of being able to do what I do in my job and have it feed the work outside of it. And I've changed the way that I've looked at that for a while. Like when I first graduated, I was like, I have to work for myself. But what I've learned is that, through working the job that I have, it's actually helped open my eyes to other opportunities. I get to meet people. I get to work on skills through the course of my day, like without actually having, like, I'm not sacrificing anything.
Okay.
Like, it's all working. Like, everything is like a pool feeding into each other.
So being able to have a job and then work on your freelance is giving you the freedom that you're looking for, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, like money isn't an issue. Like when you have that steady paycheck, and you're actually doing what you love, like money isn't an issue. It frees you up. Like, if I was freelancing, I don't think I'd be thinking the same. Like, all right, what's the next project? What's the next project?
Do you think that hinders you from fulfilling your passion and truly being an artist? Because now that you have the income, you kind of take a step away from performing or putting in more work into your passion.
No, because I really do think it's actually enhanced my understanding. Because I think there's some things that suffer when for everything that you want to do, there is a sacrifice. Right. So if I'm working within the confines of a 9 to 5, the freedom that I would have, but I don't know that I'd use that freedom in the right way, because I think one thing that I learned during the time that I was unemployed and freelancing was that I don't know if I have enough discipline to keep the structure that I have now. And also, I wasn't like a team player, and so this, like, having the 9 to 5 has actually helped with those things, those other skills that are necessary. Because you have to learn how to network, you have to learn how to be a team player, and so I'm learning all that while working.
That makes sense. People learn a lot through their work experiences, and then it kind of allows them to move forward in their particular business.
And that's exactly been the case.
And awesome. That's pretty good. So where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years as far as what you're doing now?
I'm not sure exactly. Like, I try to stay away from making big overarching goals, but I think because for me, like, when I first graduated, I wanted to be the best illustrator ever. But knowing that I have all these other skill sets, I don't feel like I have to be the best illustrator. Like, I'm allowing myself the opportunity to see what other doors open. But one thing I'm learning that I really like is the idea of strategizing, like, communication and digital content. So if I was to put a title or a name to it, I'd like to be like a creative director or a marketing, like, of a marketing agency or something in the near future, because I feel like I have the skills and the background to do it.
Okay. What advice would you provide to young entrepreneurs trying to get into the field of digital illustration, content development, and the things that you do at work now?
I would say that it's probably just best to do the work. Like, I think a lot of people overthink it. They're waiting for the perfect time. They're waiting for the perfect opportunity. But I think one thing that's distinguished my career is that I just didn't stop working. And it's not because I was getting paid ridiculous amounts of money for what I was doing. Like, some of the drawings that I would do were just an idea that I had, but it opened doors. When you keep working, it opens doors. Like, one thing to think about is on your resume, if someone were to ask you, you're at a job interview, somebody is to ask you, what have you done in the past? You can show them all these awesome things, but let's say it's dated like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, like half a year ago. If they were to ask you, what's the last thing you worked on? What would you be able to show them? And so that's the way you have to think. That's my advice to younger people, like, always be working.
Always.
That's it. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be your best work. Everything's not going to be a Picasso.
Never.
So it's better to just put it out there, learn from the experience.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So let everybody know where they can find you on your social media pages, your website.
LasanBryan.com is my website. Social media is Lasan Bryan, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all Lasan Bryan. And I have a secondary page for a brand I'm in the process of developing. Is
so you got some new things coming
New things on the way. New things.
Okay, let them know.
Can't talk too much. Can't talk too much about it now, but I'm rebranding.
So look, everybody, this is Lasan. Came out today. Definitely check out his platforms. Check out his artwork if you want to buy a piece of his artwork. Support the entrepreneurs. 2018, you got a lot coming, right?
Yep. Big
Absolutely.
things.
So stay tuned. Rembrandt got a lot more for you guys.